Thank you again for still being there with us. We're taking a look at confusion at the over alleged Plateau Assembly sealing by military. And we have our correspondent, Dankwada, who is there to give us an update. Dankwada, tell us, what is the latest?
Good morning. As I speak to you, the premises of the Plateau State House of Assembly is calm, and everything is back to normal. As you all know, and I'm sure you've heard that yesterday, the governor relaxed the curfew in the state, which was actually in some part of the state, rather, just north, just south, and Bassa. In just north, it was 24 hours curfew. Now it has been relaxed to 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. But that of Bassa and the south is now 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. in the night. And peace is gradually returning to the state, to the city center and other trouble areas due to the efforts of some leaders, the governor and the religious leaders and traditional leaders. What happened yesterday at the State of Assembly premises was a confusion, just like you said. As early as 6 o'clock in the morning, there were heavy presence of security personnel sighted there with some vans, Hilux vans. Now, you cannot talk about what happened yesterday without looking at what led to what happened yesterday. While we were there, some of the people we spoke to told us that the situation did not start yesterday and did not also start with last Friday's press statement or press briefing by the State House of Assembly, which gave the governor 2 weeks ultimatum to address the security challenges in the state. Now, what I'm saying are not my words, but then some set of people alleged that the trouble may have started when during the resurgence of killings in Bassa axis, that is the Miongo axis, where the member representing Irigwe Rukuba constituency, Musa Aga, in company of the Speaker of the Plateau State House of Assembly, Ayuba Abok, visited the governor after so much pressure by his people to brief the governor on the situation of the killings, destruction of farmlands, and the security challenges in that place. Musa Aga alleged that after waiting in company of the Speaker for over an hour, someone came to tell them that the governor is sleeping and he cannot see them. And so he said, these are not my words, he said it during a live program, one of the radios in Jaws. And it generated a lot of reactions by so many people. The news was everywhere, it dominated the social media spaces. And so we were also told yesterday by some of those people that the Speaker had asked, the governor had asked the Speaker, they alleged that the governor had asked the Speaker to remove, to suspend rather, the member representing Irigwe Rukuba constituency, that is Musa Aga, and the Speaker refused. So while this was going on, the killings and everything, the effort being made by the governors, by the governor and then traditional rulers, religious leaders, last week Friday, when killings continued, after the Yalwanzangam community killing, the members of the State Assembly decided to address the press. Now they addressed the press, and Philip Dasun, the member representing Panshin North, spoke on behalf of the State Assembly members. And they asked the governor in that statement to implement a report. They didn't tell us what was what the report contained, but they said they have submitted a report to the governor and they wanted him to implement. They want him to implement the report. They gave him 2 weeks ultimatum to implement that report. But we asked, what will happen after the 2 weeks? And they didn't say anything. So just yesterday morning, we saw heavy presence of security personnel at the premises of the State House of Assembly. And while that was going on, the Speaker, Ayuba Abok, was on a national TV, and he also stated it clear that the House of Assembly has been sealed, that some security operatives have laid siege on the House of Assembly. Now, that news did not only go, people did not only see it as there was a siege, there was a lot of confusion, and many thought that there could be a plan of impeachment. And so soon, Plateau youths began to arrive the premises of the State Assembly. Now, we had different groups of youth who probably, came there. Now, at about 10 o'clock, some of the helices or some of the security vans were reduced. Only left, I think there was only 3, and then some security DSS operative in the premises of the State Assembly. And then we were also hearing that the government said it's not responsible for what has happened. But then some of the people that came, some of the Plateau youths that came, were singing, were dancing, were saying all manner of things. They were carrying placards with different inscriptions, and they said they were there to show their solidarity in support of the Speaker of the House of Assembly and all the members, that the members are doing the right thing, that what the members did last week was the right thing, to have asked the governor to implement that report they sent to him and giving him 2 weeks ultimatum. Now, when those people left, another group of people came, and this time, those in solidarity or those in support of the executive. And those ones came and they said it is not true. They counter what the first groups were saying and said, no, the governor did not ask any security person or any security operative to come and seal the premises of the House of Assembly. Now, the confusion continued, not until 4 o'clock. While the confusion was on, we were expecting the Speaker to come to the State House of Assembly alongside other members, because they were actually on break, 3 weeks break. And so they decided to come yesterday to have a meeting. And so they didn't show up, not until about 4 p.m. when the member representing Panshin North, who is also the chairman House Committee on Information, Philip Dasun, came in company of another member representing Lantan North in the State Assembly, Nambolistic, to address people, the protesters, and to say, no, everything is under control. They will soon resolve their differences and then put all these things behind them. And while that was going on too, the state government released a statement, and then they debunked and denied any involvement in the sealing of the State Assembly.
All right, Dan, so much seems to be happening. A real issue affecting the people seems to be politicized right now. But it appears from what you're saying that the State House of Assembly in Plateau is trying to hold the government, the executive, accountable and ensure that they do the needful. Now, the governor visited some parts of the states that were badly affected by violence yesterday, and he promised that those perpetrators of that violent act will be brought to justice. That's on the one hand. On the other hand, the same House member, Philip Dasun, is quoted as saying that Plateau people should practically stand up and defend themselves and their communities, as the conventional security design is no longer guaranteeing any safety for the people. That's quoting him directly. How are the people taking these messages?
Yeah. Please come again. The last statement.
Dan, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Please, let me hear the last statement you made.
There are 2 messages coming in from the state government. One from the state governor when he visited the affected communities yesterday. He promised to bring perpetrators to justice. But on the other hand, you find a member, that's the House Committee Chairman on Information, Plateau State House Committee Chairman on Information, Philip Dasun, telling the people that the conventional security in the state is not designed and can no longer help them, and they should stand up to defend themselves and their communities. How are the people reacting and taking these messages?
Well, many of the people who spoke in Plateau see the call by the House of Assembly members for people to defend themselves as a way to go. But in the meantime, the Special Task Force deployed to Plateau State to restore peace, Operation Safe Haven, in a statement yesterday, warned the people against defending themselves, because defending themselves could be probably try to protect themselves, and I don't want to go further, and you know what that means. But I can tell you that when you talk about, the governor went there day before yesterday, and he sympathized with the people. And I can tell you, the governor, I'm not the spokesperson. I'm not speaking for the governor, but I know that at this moment the governor has a lot on his table, and there's so many pressure. I know that the governor has done well, I can tell you, in terms of trying to restore peace in the state. He will look at the peace architecture, but then people, there are still expectations. Expectations are high. And when people have expectations, you don't blame them. He is a leader, and people will definitely have expectations. And when the governor went there, he said it, that anybody responsible for this killing must be brought to book, must be brought to justice. I have seen so many efforts made by the government in trying to restore this peace, but we have an issue of ungoverned space. Ungoverned space. One of the person who lost 7 family members day before yesterday, while he was speaking, he told the governor that within 10 kilometers in that place, they have only 5 policemen. And he was saying, we have 2 in Kunga, we have 1 in... He was just saying, and you see, it tells you that there's a lot of government space. Beyond that, I can tell you that religious leaders on the Plateau have done so much more in terms of trying to calm the people. For instance, last week I was invited to the Jumad Mosque, Muslim Jumad here in Jos. The Josawa people, after their meeting, issued a communique and have decided that they are going to protect any church that is within their domain in trying to ensure peace. And then the Khan also are doing the same. The Christian organization of that, they are trying to calm the people and tell them that, look, we must find a common ground and find a lasting solution. Now, in between what the governor has said and what the House of Assembly have said, I think the House of Assembly were being pressurized. I think that there's been a lot of pressure by the people on the House of Assembly, and I think they are not getting the kind of response maybe they're not getting.
All right, we seem to have lost signal with Dan. All right, Dan, we want to thank you very much. I actually just wanted to find out, in the peace process, is there a process in place for justice for those who have been victimized by this situation in Jos? But we'll leave that for another time. Thank you again very much, Dan Kwanda, our correspondent in Plateau State.